ancient sword possesses the most terrifying destructive power in history, terrifying humanity. Hello viewers of Enigmatic Echoes. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout history, researchers have discovered extraordinary weapons with fearsome power associated with renowned names worldwide. Typically, great warriors often use exceptionally powerful weapons, not only helping them conquer distant promised lands, but also contributing to liberating oppressed people, participating in significant events, and being recorded in history. Join Enigmatic Echoes to explore the mysterious swords with the most destructive power in history, right in today's video. The Giant Sword. The giant Norimitsu Odachi sword is considered a monster among legendary swords. It was forged around the 15th century AD, nearly 4 meters long and weighing up to 15 kilograms. This special sword was once suspected to be a giant's weapon. The Odachi blade was once about 100 centimeters long because ancient Japanese people were typically a modest height. Therefore, this giant sword raises questions about its user. When looking at Norimitsu Odachi, many certainly think it was forged for a giant warrior. Some ancient Japanese scriptures mention giant warriors using long Odachi swords suitable for their size. If a person is 2 meters or taller with tremendous muscular strength, they could also wield a 4 meters long sword. The psychological intimidation effect on enemies and the sleeping power of this sword are unquestionable. Additionally, there are other theories, such as the sword being cast as a victory symbol to boost morale, or it being the longest product in a sword forging competition. The third theory relates to some ancient Japanese stories. A strategist came up with the idea to forge a giant sword and place it where the enemy could see it. Finally, suspecting the land had giant warriors, the enemy feared and retreated, not daring to return. And from then on, Norimitsu Odachi became a haunting threat to them. According to Japanese mythology, there was once an 8-headed snake that always sought to harass the human world. Seeing this injustice, the god Susanoo no Mikoto decided to destroy the serpent. The god used 3 barrels of sake to make the snake drunk, and when it was intoxicated, he cut off its tails. But one tail could not be cut. The god used a sword to carve a small hole and discovered a precious sword inside. God Susanoo named that precious sword Kusanagi. Kusanagi is considered a symbol of the Japanese imperial family and one of the symbols of the sun goddess. The Japanese imperial family used it as a symbol of sacred power and to rule the people. This sword is believed to be at Atsuda Shrine in Nagano Prefecture, but its presence has not been disclosed to the public for centuries. For hundreds of years, the mysterious sword Tarango was embedded in the rock wall of the Notre Dame Chapel in Rocamadour, France. Monks said it was the sword of the knight Roland. Roland is believed to be the nephew of the famous Emperor Charlemagne. Roland was also the most capable assistant among the 12 counts and the best warrior in the court. According to legend, Roland threw his sword into the rock so it wouldn't fall into enemy hands. Roland's effort to destroy the Tarango sword created a 40 meters wide and 100 meters high crevice in the Pyrenees. Since the 12th century, the Notre Dame Chapel has become a destination and a sacred pilgrimage of believers. It wasn't until 2011 that authorities moved the sword from the rock and displayed it at the Cluny Museum in Paris. Over 50 years ago, a precious sword was found in a tomb in China. Despite being 2,500 years old, the sword showed no signs of rust. The sword made the young archaeologist's finger bleed when he touched the blade, which seemed untouched by time. Besides this strange characteristic, the sword forging technique also amazed people, considered a national treasure of China today. The significance of this sword to the Chinese people can be compared to King Arthur's Excalibur in the West. The 55.7 centimeters long sword was discovered in Zhongli, Hubei in 1965. King Gujian of Yu made this sword for personal use. The story of King Gujian of Yu and King Fuchai of Wu competing for power is famous throughout China, making it even more intriguing. Scientists have analyzed the materials used to forge this precious sword, including copper, tin, lead, iron, sulfur, with copper accounting for the highest proportion. This sword was so meticulously forged that each part of it has different material compositions. Beyond its historical value, many scholars wonder how this sword could remain completely undamaged in a humid environment for over 2,000 years, and how the intricate decorative patterns were carved into the sword. This clearly demonstrates that ancient predecessors had reached a high level of metallurgy, allowing them to incorporate alloys into the sword blade, making it exceptional and preserving it intact for thousands of years. According to legend, this is an ancient Japanese sword with terrifying destructive power. Therefore, the gods required that the sword's user must let it taste human blood. If the Muramasa sword is not satisfied with its bloodthirst, the person will be killed or forced to commit suicide. There are many stories about Muramasa sword users going mad or being killed. Thus, it is considered a cursed weapon. Since the early 16th century, Muramasa has wandered everywhere and passed for many owners, once being a treasure of the Tokugawa shogunate. However, over the years, Muramasa became feared because its owners often shared the same tragic fate. In the 16th and 17th centuries, the feudal dynasty even banned samurai from using Muramasa. Nevertheless, its allure remained strong, to the extent that General Tokugawa used a fake sword and named it Muramasa. Qianlong Emperor's Nine-Dragon Treasure Sword. This was a rare and extremely valuable treasure during the Qing dynasty. The reason it's called the Nine-Dragon Treasure Sword is because 9 golden dragons are carved on the sword body, symbolizing the ultimate 9 nines, representing the power and eternal wish of the Qing dynasty. The sword's manufacturing took about 10 years to complete. This is considered a treasure that Emperor Qianlong, one of the greatest emperors of the Qing dynasty, deeply cherished during his lifetime. Even this special sword was buried with him to the afterlife. The Nine-Dragon Treasure Sword was stolen by the thief Sun Tianying from Emperor Qianlong's. Legend has it that this is a special treasure, always surrounded by a strange mist and carrying a terrifying curse, causing all those unauthorized to touch the sword to die for unknown reasons, without exception. Sun Tianying wanted to escape punishment for theft, so he successively gifted the stolen treasures to officials. Since leaving the tomb, this sword has come into contact with a total of 4 people, and their fates were Nala. The trustee assigned to deliver the sword died in a plane crash into a mountain for unknown reasons. Ma Hansen, who temporarily held the treasure and developed intentions to seize it, was later shot to death. Kawashima Yoshiko, who seized the imperial edict, also couldn't escape the death penalty. And the accomplice who helped Sun Tianying steal countless treasures was eventually captured and died in prison. Joyous is one of the famous legendary swords in history. This is the legendary sword of King Charlemagne. It is said to be capable of changing color 30 times a day and shining like sunlight. Emperor Charlemagne used the joyous sword to behead the Saracen commander Korsubal. Notably, people even named a town after this sword. After Emperor Charlemagne's death, the legendary joyous sword was often used in the coronation ceremonies of French kings. In early 1271, 2 swords named Joyous appeared in the coronation ceremony of French kings. One of the 2 swords is believed to have been owned by the Holy See for many centuries prior. Inside the Montesiepi Chapel in a small Italian village, there is a strange sword that has attracted the attention of archaeological researchers for years. That is the sword firmly stuck in the stone of St. Volcano. The mystery here surely everyone can guess. Such a hard stone. How could a sword pierce through it, sink deep inside, and to this day, after more than 800 years of history, no one has been able to pull it out? Is there something miraculous here? According to records, Golgotha was the first person officially recognized by society through formal canonization. In his youth, he was only interested in worldly pleasures. Belonging to the noble class, he was a knight trained in combat skills with an arrogant and violent personality. However, everything changed after he dreamed of Archangel Michael showing him the path to salvation. Soon after, Golgotha declared that he would become a hermit. Predictably, he faced opposition from his family and friends. They thought he had lost his mind and eyes of saw. But he was shocked to hear a voice urging him to abandon all worldly desires. He considered this as difficult as asking a young man to split a rock in half with just a sword. To prove his point, Sangon Gano drew his sword and stabbed it into a rock. Astonishingly, the sword pierced through the rock as easily as a hot knife through butter and has been stuck there ever since. Sangon Gano understood the clear message and became a hermit. For centuries, the sword and the stone remained a mystery. However, recent research shows that this sword actually dates back to the 12th century, based on its metal composition and style. After over 800 years of history, the legendary sword remains firmly embedded in the rock. At the site believed to mark the miraculous story, serving as evidence of a miracle that occurred. Qin Huang Sword. Qin Huang Sword is the name given to swords discovered in 1994 in the tomb of Qin Shi Huang at Mount Li in Shaanxi Province, China. The first impression of these swords amazed archaeologists, as despite being buried underground for over 2,000 years, they remained sharp and shiny as new. Even more remarkably, it was discovered that the surface of these swords was coated with a chromium compound layer about 10 micrometers thick, preventing them from oxidizing. This discovery shocked the world because it wasn't until 1937 that German scientists invented chromium compounds and possessed the plating technology. Whether they are artifacts displayed in museums or objects of unknown whereabouts. This is perhaps one of the masterpieces crystallized from human creativity. The world's most mysterious swords linked to ancient legends. So among these precious swords, which one impresses you the most? Don't forget to like and subscribe to Enigmatic Echoes channel so you won. Now, our video ends here. Goodbye and see you again. Subscribe to the Gian Migo channel so you won't miss exciting videos.